Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dotun Ayodele of Africa X. Tonight I'll be talking to Mr. and Mrs. Bolanle and Kayode Akomolafe. They'll be telling us their story, making the jump from Nigeria to Canada. Now I'm going to take you down one route as part of this segment. How's it moving with grown-up children, middle school age, and then watching them grow to become, late teens into adults? How has that played out? Managing that process, the transition for them, they cut off, lose all their friends, quote and unquote. They lose all their friends and they have to start all over again, right? New country, new school, new neighborhood, that kind of thing. How has that process been for you?
But I think it's gone on pretty seamlessly. It's gone on flawlessly. It's gone on so very well. And let me give you a background to this. We were very crazy about the plan, up to the point that we didn't tell the children until just a few weeks before we moved.
I think we started school time when it didn't work.
I mean, we were that crazy about it. We didn't want to get them unduly excited. I mean, and then of course, when it was just a few weeks, they were supposed to return to school after their summer vacation, and we informed them. Of course, they were hit hard by the fact that they weren't going to see their friends. We organized for them to see their friends and say their goodbyes. We moved, got on the plane. One thing that I remember is that the youngest dude, our son, who at that time was just about 6 years.
He turned 6 when I got him.
He kept asking almost every hour, "Are we there? Are we there? When are we going to get there? Are we there?" And then you leave Lagos, you do a 6.5 hour flight to Frankfurt, and is this where we're going to know?
Yeah.
This is just a stopover. And that went on, and then we got there and finally we were there. Now, I think what worked well for us is the fact that we've always been intentional about parenting.
Yeah.
We've always been very, very intentional about that, and God has helped us fantastically. And we told them before we left Nigeria, and as soon as we got here, we're not going to Canada to play. We're not going to Canada to feel big, to become hip and all hyped up. There's a reason why we're going to Canada. And we must not get to Canada and forget our values. Spiritual values, moral values, social values, family values. We must maintain those things. We were very clear about them. Before we left Nigeria, even though we had domestic help, domestic staff, we still made sure that the children had their chores. They had things that they did. And that prepared them. One of the things Bolanle did was to get the girls to learn how to weave. And as you can see, this was done by my second daughter. She's the one who weaves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, she looks forward to doing it, and it's a fantastic thing. So all that had been done before we left. They were prepared. And then we got here. It's interesting. You leave Lagos, where you live in a massive 3-bedroom flat, all the bedrooms en suite. You have 2 drivers, you have domestic staff, you have someone doing your laundry, you have all of those things. And then you get into Canada. We started off in a basement, a 2-bedroom basement
Yeah.
that was about a quarter of the size of our living room in
That's quite a transition there.
it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. And then, of course, the children had to take up doing the chores. It was non-negotiable, but it wasn't difficult for them because the foundation had been laid. So that just continued all the way. Yeah, and when we moved from that 2-bedroom apartment to our own house, it was a reward for them for having done well. Yeah. And we got to Canada on June 5. I think that was a Thursday. By Sunday, we were in church. I mean, all that was all sorted out, and we've continued in the same church up till now. So we, by the grace of God, we've maintained those values.
Yeah.
That has helped with parenting them and watching them grow from pre-teens into their early and late teen years now. And it's been a fantastic experience. We've watched them mature. We've watched them become extra responsible, very well behaved. Even we have Caucasian Canadians approaching us to say, you know, we've watched these children from afar and we're amazed. When we were leaving our last house, a neighbor across the road said that to me when I told him we were leaving. He said, you know what? I watch you guys and I like the way you've raised your children. Wow. There's a neighbor across the road who's never been inside our house. You know, so it's been a fantastic experience in that regard. And they become so grown, so developed. They are extremely responsible. Parenting has been good, and they still maintain their Christian virtues and values. They still maintain the cultural African, Nigerian, Yoruba values. They maintain the social, moral values that by the grace of God, one has been able to instill in them. And Bolanle has done a fantastic job of getting them extremely domesticated. They are financially sound. I mean, she's
well with a mother like Bolanle, they were not financially sound. I'll be concerned. She's done phenomenal.
I'm telling you, they follow the stock market. They have their own. I mean, our first daughter already invests in the stock market. Our second daughter is starting a business of her own. Wow. They've all had experience working. It's just been amazing. It's fantastic.
Wow. I'm so proud of you guys. Just listening to this level of detail just tells me that all the stuff I thought was actually small. And I'm just excited at what we are going to see from them as they start and proceed on their own journey.
She did all the work.
No, but
she did all the work.
He's very Yoruba. He's a Nigerian. And I tell at times when the kids see me, they can just say, "Hi, mom." They can't try with you. And I'm sure he doesn't even know that it's not all the time they greet the Yoruba way. I mean, we're from the Yoruba tribe. Southwestern Nigeria, right? So but with me, at times, especially when he's not there, they know they can just. But with him, no.
They can get away with it, but with daddy, they must.
They can't try.
With the 2 knees on the floor.
And that's exactly the way.
Really, that's the way they greet.
Yes.
That's the way they greet every day.
That's really cool.
Not only for us, every Nigerian.
Tell them just the Nigerians.
Once you see a Nigerian who understands that this is your culture, you must display.
You must show
beauty in our culture, and we want them to love our culture and the Western culture because you can benefit from both. You should never feel that your culture is small or little or something to be looked down on. They don't feel that way because we make it look good. And there's something people say all the time that we've come here for the children. We don't see it that way. We're all here to enjoy this space. So we want them to be all Nigerian and still all Canadian. That way they're enjoying the best of both worlds. And another thing I think, just to add to what you said, is we've been intentional about making it stakeholders. I remember when I was going to write my take my driving test, the actual test. I mean, everybody had said, you're going to fail. So I was always practicing.
And that's because she never drove in Nigeria.
I barely drove. I could drive, but I drove.
You had a driver.
I always had a driver.
She had drivers. The farthest she drove in Nigeria was to Redemption Camp.
I'm telling you, even that was something.
In all of 16 years or so.
You know? So I wasn't a driver. So even I was very afraid. But we kept involving them in everything. So I remember that they agreed with me in prayer. I mean, we're people of faith. You know, so I'll read the book, and I was always just involving them. You were always in Nigeria at the time, but we involved them in everything. So they saw the growth, they saw the progress, they saw us taking exams and how we'll agree, okay, so I'm going for this interview, this is what we're doing. So they were a part of everything. So they enjoyed every victory as it came, the struggle, the effort, and the victory. You know, we involved them in everything. We're about to buy a house, we're going to pray and trust God for this. We need this to make this happen. We need you guys to do this. They were a part of everything. Still are a part of everything. You know, so it made the hustle enjoyable for them.
So basically, they watched the hustle. They watched the struggle. Then they saw it get easy. Then they saw the victory.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you've modeled the path to getting things right for them simply by letting them watch all of this. Then.
Oh, they watched all of it. We don't hide anything. No.
Wow, that's beautiful. I find that that's something I am personally taking to heart, because I tend to minimize my victories, and I tend to hide my struggles completely out of sight. And I think that's not serving the people around me, and it's not serving the people that are watching me, because they'll just see the result and be like, oh, it's like that. Whereas if you show them the failures and you show them the struggle, and you see you get the first one right, then the second one right, then you start to get it right consistently, then they're like, oh, okay, this was actually a process. Okay. I'm taking that away personally now. So now I want us to talk about advice, right? Because we've been through this amazing journey of Lagos, Frankfurt, Toronto, Saskatoon 6 years, raising a 12-year-old to 18, right? 6 to 12, and then the lady in the middle, she's now 16, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So 12, 16, 18. Mr. Akomolafe finally making the move and coming to terms with the fact that I can't stay in Nigeria again. I need to relocate myself. You know, he has now 4 years going. You've mentioned a few things. 1, do your research. 2, determine your options. 3, don't hide your failures, particularly when you are a family. Grow through the pains together. What else would you like to tell somebody who is either contemplating about to either fill those forms, go for medical, or they have their ticket and they're just waiting for February 1 to get on a plane and get here? What kind of advice would you give them?
Well, okay, let me start. I think more than ever before, especially as Black immigrants. And I say to people, those things that we thought were disadvantages might just be your strengths. So don't ever come with the impression that you can't even, you just have to start from scratch. You have to completely retrain. In a certain way, you might have to retrain, but I tell people, don't ever come in thinking you're smaller than you are. Don't come in defeated. You haven't even seen the battle yet. You're defeated. Yeah. It's not necessary, which is why it's crucial that you're talking to the right people. Always talk to the right people. And the people you're talking to is not because they haven't gone through a lot, but it's because they see things a different way. Because your perception will become your reality. If you come in thinking that I just have to go and be doing some menial job, you might have to start with a menial job. But don't ever see yourself as a menial worker. You're just doing it so you don't spend your savings. You're just doing it because you're in the process of training. So I tell people it's very crucial. Do not come in thinking you're disadvantaged. You'll be shocked. And I remember that there was a job I interviewed for. And this person I was talking to, I was supposed to be interviewing, but this guy was talking about Nigerians. How great Nigerians are. You guys like to go to school. You guys are well educated. He's been Nigerians have blown his mind. But there's this person in Nigeria that has this great experience. He comes here and he thinks, they don't even think I'm anything. That's not true. It is not true. You need to come in and know that that experience you have will count. If A doesn't like it, B will like it. You just have to look for a way to find B. And that means you must be networking. When you're networking with people, and a lot of people make this mistake, don't give them impression you're just there to draw and draw and draw, or you only reach out when you have a need. Always come in with intelligent questions as much as possible, and look for a way by all means to network with as many people as possible, with the right people.
Yep.
So I say to people, do not think you're disadvantaged. Another thing is, you don't necessarily, it's better to be a big fish in a small pond, I feel. And I feel that way about Saskatoon. When we came, we thought, are we going to be able to stay in Saskatoon? Because we'll go to Calgary, everything will look so nice with all the lights. It's bigger. My husband didn't like Calgary anyway. We visited a few times. I think Calgary is our London. I don't even know if Calgary is our London. Maybe Toronto is our New York. I don't know. But I see now that I'm happy that, as far as I'm concerned, our situation is like being a big fish in a small pond called Saskatoon. So you don't necessarily, because in the first place, there's no large pond. You're not dealing with so many people in a smaller place. So if that's going to be your story, then make it happen, make it work, and be happy with it. So yeah.
For us, I think the starting point for us is the fact that we are a people of faith. We believe in God. I don't want to sound too contemporary by just saying we're people of faith, and it sounds like a cliche. The foundation of our being in Canada at all is the conviction that that was what God wanted us to do. But then I still struggled with it. But when the rubber met the road, when the heat was on, when I worked in London, Ontario, in a factory where I was told I was going to be working with a courier company and I was going to be sorting letters. And I got there and it was hard labor, harder than what some prisoners, in fact, prisoners in Canada don't go through that kind of labor. It was backbreaking, it was mind-bending. It could have destroyed a person's sense of worth. But for God, at that time, when I was working in that factory, pretty much like these guys in the market in K2 and mile 12, who helped you carry your wares into your car in the wheelbarrow. I was working that hard. I had staff in my office in Lagos, lawyers, administrative staff, support staff, and what have you, who were not doing anything near what I was doing. That was the point where I had to ask myself what I got myself into. That was the point where I had the option of quitting and returning to Lagos. What kept me from doing that was the fact that I knew beyond a shade of doubt that I wasn't in Canada because I wanted to come to Canada. I was in Canada and in Canada because I was instructed to come to Canada. So for me, it was not a case of people who were going to Canada. At the time we moved, it was not even fashionable. Some people said to us when we were living, are you crazy? You are leaving this certainty and comfort to go to Canada where you will be second-class citizens. So that was the foundation for us. And that is what has helped us up till now. And also with the children. When we were going to leave Nigeria, we told them what was the foundation of the move. So they've seen us evolve based on what we told them, God told us, and it was very clear. Okay, so that for us was the starting point. So I say to people all the time, be clear about why you're leaving Canada, because you're going to have tough times. And what will help you is the conviction that brought you to Canada. Secondly, I've learned more than ever before, not that I didn't know it, but I learned in a hard way that really, when we say there is dignity in labor, it is not necessarily because the labor is dignified. But there is still dignity in it. And in a place like Canada, even if all you do is wipe the floors. You are respected for it.
I do not.
So if you find yourself in that kind of a situation, don't look down on yourself, because most likely the people you think are looking down on you are not looking down on you. The day the guys that I worked in that warehouse with found out that I was a lawyer, they treated me completely differently. Some of them said to me, "Why are you here? Are you crazy? You're a lawyer and you're working here?" But I said to them, this is what my journey requires, and I'm not going to run away from it. There is dignity in labor. If you have to start with what looks like a menial job, do it, and do it very well. My supervisor in London, Ontario, when I was leaving, he was sad. And after I left and I needed references, he was more than glad to give me the references. Those are things that people need to understand when you come to Canada. Thirdly, you must have value to offer. Canada will respect you when you have value to offer.
I get that.
You can't stay at the bottom if you have value to offer. I have worked with Canadians who, when they see that you've got substance, they respect you for it. They reward you for it. They remunerate you for it. I work with the Saskatchewan Human Rights Commission, and that organization values Nigerians. They celebrate Nigerians. I mean, it's a pretty small organization of just about 30, 31 of us, but I can tell you that right now there are 5 of us Nigerians working at the system.
Wow. Okay, that's a good number now.
I'm telling you.
Nigerians are not paying.
I'm telling you, and it is all based on merit.
Yes.
So I found out, and I know very surely about Canada, that if you have value to offer, Canada will celebrate you. Of course, we know Nigerians who have challenges breaking into professions, whether it's a legal profession or the medical profession. We understand the protection that that those industries give to their own. It's a systemic thing. It won't end in one day. Systemic problems take time to be dealt with. But it does not negate the fact that when you have value to offer, you will be respected in Canada. Even as little and seemingly insignificant as on the soccer field. When our son had a tournament in the US in 2019, and we all went as a family, I turned out to be the chief cheerleader. Because I mean, crazy Nigerian.
Was it noisy?
Cheering the team. Whenever the boys scored, I would roll on the floor, scream, and they found that very exciting. So much that if I didn't get there on time, I will be receiving calls. Where are you? Where are you?
We need our number one cheerleader to come on.
You know, and I can tell you that today I'm on the board of the soccer club.
Wow.
Wow. You know, so that's what I say to people. Have value to offer, you will be respected for it. There's dignity in labor. Do what you need to do. You won't be there forever. I mean, how many years did I start my journey fully here? Just a little over 3 years. But by the grace of God, where we are now is it is amazing. I mean, I walk around from time to time and I look at us and I say, phenomenal.
Yep.
Don't come in defeated, or don't come in thinking you're a victim. You're not, and nobody's going to just hand things over to you.
No.
And I remember when I started with banking, for me it was very painful. I've been a manager in Nigeria for many years. I started and I didn't even do retail banking in Nigeria. I barely did. Maybe at the start of my career for a bit. And I got into retail banking and I started from the scratch. It was very tough on my mind. But I learned so much. So I tell people, so at times you need to clip your wings so you can learn. Because for me, it was great learning, not just for the clients that I serve, but for us as a family. If I didn't have the opportunity, I won't know some of the things that I know right now.
Yeah.
And what I did was
And I know how much you can pick up when you do retail banking. Very quickly.
you will
No.
because you have so many people coming at you and you're giving them information, and you better be writing information. What I did was I said, look, this is where I want to be. And for the people that are here ahead of me, this is what they have. So what do I need to do to close the gap? So for me, I knew I didn't have time. And see, that thing that you think is a disadvantage as an immigrant can be an advantage. So they have time, I don't have time. So what will I do? I will buckle down and do all the exams that I can. So I was constantly writing exams. The start is always tough. So so it can be smooth eventually. So you have to be ready because your opportunity will come. So everybody likes a hardworking person, that person that is prepared. So when the opportunity comes, trust me, they're not going to look at the color of your skin. They won't. You just want that person that can deliver, that person that can give value. So at every point so this is an opening, I'm ready with the exams. So you go into it. And by the time I said I was done with retail banking, as I was preparing to move into another role, which is what I always do, what do they have to get into this thing? I will do that thing so I can move there. I wanted to go back to treasury. I just prepared and wrote the exams. Even before I wrote the exams, the opportunity came and I was able to go in. With just saying, oh, I'm writing this exam and already have this experience. See, so if I hadn't started from scratch, I don't think if I didn't have that experience from this financial institution, I'm not sure I would have had that opportunity to go back into corporate treasury or to go into corporate treasury and still leave corporate treasury to return to banking, to do commercial banking. So at times it's a lot of learning, it's retraining, it's tough, but it will happen. The only thing is that if I could go back to change some things, I probably will change the fact that I used to be under a lot of pressure. I used to worry. Maza will tell you, chief warrior. I will not sleep. I'm looking at jobs everywhere in Canada. I worried and worried. If I could go back to change things, I would worry less. Because if you do what you need to do, it will, those dreams will come to pass, for sure.
Okay, so if I'm going to do a quick summary, because you guys have highlighted like 7 points, but if I pick one of each, no, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. This is great. This is very good stuff. So if I pick one of each, one, don't look down on your experience, because that experience that you think is irrelevant is the gold that somebody here is looking for. That experience that you're like, oh, I don't know whether this will count. That's somebody actually has a JD written with that experience in mind. That's like number one. Number two, value. If you have value, it will show. And everybody recognizes value at the end of the day. So even if you have to start with something menial, take it. Do it for like a month, 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever, just to keep, get life going, keep moving along. And then eventually the stars will align, the dots will connect. And somebody who is like in dire straits looking for what you have is going to find you and say, hey, I've been looking for you. What are you doing here? Let's go. What you want is over there. Okay, so this is very useful information, I believe, and I believe this is going to make a difference for somebody who is watching right now. So we've gone about talk about your backstory. We've talked about your first thoughts. You shared your experience in detail, and I'm grateful to you that you've taken the time to bear your mind and be this honest and be this open and this vulnerable. So thank you very much for choosing to spend the last hour with me. Wow. I really appreciate it.